I made a video in which I criticized the new rework for Pathfinder's grapple cooldown. The TLDR was basically, patch notes say this, reality is this. And this gets achieved way too fast and in unnecessary situations. So it feels like the rework was not playtested by someone that understands how Pathfinder is played and what makes him fun to play. I posted a section of that to Reddit where a lot of people seem to agree with me. The Respawn designer Daniel Z. Klein, currently responsible for Pathfinder and Legend Balance in general, then responded and tried to explain himself. I then made a follow-up video, cause I still felt like he didn't really understood why the community was as upset as they were. This led to Daniel coming to my Discord server and wanting to talk with me. I then hopped on a call with him where I was able to explain my and in extent the community's frustration and get a first idea of how Legend Balance currently works within Respawn and why certain decisions are being made. That's the summary of what happened till now. Before I get into discussing the content of our call, let me get two things straight. First, I personally don't think Pathfinder is in a bad spot or unplayable, even in his current state. His kit is incredibly powerful, and if the 7-second maximum cooldown increase made him unplayable for you, you have been using him wrong this entire time. Yes, they could have handled the changes to him way better, but that Pathfinder is unplayable or dead is nothing but a meme. Overall, he's in a much better spot right now than he was before the rework. And second, the content of this video is my recollection of a personal chat with a developer. Nothing in here has any official badge of approval. This call happened because Daniel seems to be someone that cares about the community and improving the connection between us and Respawn. Okay, now to the juicy stuff. I tried to string together our talk into one cohesive script, but I think it's just easier to present it in a Q&A type format. What are Daniel's responsibilities at Respawn? Daniel is a game designer, which means he develops and programs gameplay elements. One of his core responsibilities is currently to watch over the balance of the existing Legend roster. For example, the reworks to Mirage's kit and Lifeline's passive in Season 5 were signed off by him. What is Apex Legends' core philosophy? That is something Respawn had to find out. Where they want to position themselves between core FPS and hero shooter developed over the last 1.5 years. With the current philosophy being, Apex is a game about gun skill first and foremost, and only a hero shooter second or even third or fourth. Your aim, core movement skill and especially your positioning should be the determining factors to come out on top. Your Legend abilities should only contribute maybe 10% towards your win. Does Respawn regularly have community playtests? Yes. Apparently, Respawn holds regular or semi-regular community playtests with Apex pros for upcoming changes to the game. What sort of metric does Respawn look at when determining how balanced a Legend is? Mainly that's pick rate, win rate and encounter and trios win rate. This means it does not only matter how often you end up on the champion screen with a Legend, but how many engagements with enemies a Legend itself wins and how many engagements a trio that contains that Legend wins. Number-wise, these are the factors Respawn looks at when balancing a Legend. What is Daniel's opinion on the feedback about the Pathfinder cooldown? Overall, he agrees that this cooldown could have been implemented better, and that with better feedback, implementation and communication, this tiny backlash probably could have been avoided. Was the 42-second maximum grapple cooldown intended? No, not really. Time constraints were a factor, but also missing Pathfinder specific feedback from the last round of playtests. Daniel realized that, which is one of the reasons he reached out to me and our community to have a chat. Will the 42-second cooldown be fixed? Yes. With the release of Season 7, the 42-second maximum cooldown will get fixed, and other changes to how the cooldown is calculated are being made. I know what those changes are, but of course can't talk about it in this video. But I am very happy with the changes coming to Pathfinder's cooldown. There is another change coming to Pathfinder I don't agree with, but if you trust the numbers Daniel told me about, it's apparently justified. The cooldown changes will be implemented with Season 7. I don't know about the other things. Why is the cooldown now based on distance traveled instead of being like in Titanfall 2 for example, where it was based on consumed grapple energy? Distance as a gameplay element is much more important in a game like Apex compared to Titanfall. Battle Royale just has the concept of traveling distances from point of interest to point of interest and in the end towards a final target fundamentally built into it. That just wasn't the case in Titanfall, where you rotate throughout the map multiple times during a single game. And I have to say, once I heard that explanation, I could only agree with it. I mean, it makes sense. Wraith's Portal, for example, is also distance based. And I really think with the changes coming to how the cooldown is calculated, it will be totally fine. What is Pathfinder's place in the Legend roster? Pathfinder together with Wraith still represent the two top legends across nearly all skill brackets, with Lifeline strengthening her place as a third with her recent passive rework. And it appears that changes to Wraith's and Pathfinder's kits don't really affect their pick or engagement win rate. No matter how much you buff or nerf them, they always seem to hover around the two top spots, cause their core kits are so powerful. So unless Pathfinder's win rate spikes super hard with the changes coming to Season 7, there might be some room for additional changes. Because if he stays around the same engagement win rate, no matter if you buff or nerf him, then why not grant him a bit more fun potential? How can we prevent such a disconnect between Respawn and parts of the community in the future? I think it's fair to say that we both agreed in our talk that Respawn could do a better job with interacting with the community, especially when it comes to feedback. Daniel and other developers are trying to do their part in being active with the community. But how a more centralized solution within Respawn could look like, I don't know. Theorizing about that isn't really the point of this video. What has Respawn learned about legend balancing over the last 1.5 years? It's nearly all about engagement utility. It took them a bit to learn that no matter how good your out of combat utility is, if you don't have something to clutch up engagements, it won't really matter. Example is Loba. Her looting capabilities are actually pretty damn great, but all people really care about is her teleporting bracelet not being good enough. So that's definitely something they take more into account with future legends and current legend rebalancing. Any infos on other legend changes? Mirage and Octane will both receive minor buffs in Season 7. Daniel agrees that Lifeline's passive is not just powerful, but can be a bit frustrating to fight against right now. And that a cooldown for it is probably a good idea. But implementing such a change hinges on being able to communicate this cooldown very clearly to the player. So right now it's nothing but thoughts. On Bangalore he had to say that he likes the area displacing abilities her smoke and ultimate currently have, and that there might be some way to build on that in the future. And just because I'm not mentioning other legends here doesn't mean they won't be taken care of. These are just the one we sort of talked about. While we are at other legends, please let me know in the comments what you think could be done to other legends, as nothing of this is set in stone right now and I am in continued talks with Daniel. What does Respawn think of advanced movement in general? Respawn is very aware that their movement system is one of the fundamental pillars that makes Apex such a great experience. They also know in general about advanced movement tech like wall bouncing and momentum shifts for example, but whenever this topic came up they pretty much left it alone cause it only affects a minuscule percentage of players. And for one reason or another there seems to be no huge desire to investigate them. How does the future for the development of Apex Legends itself and Respawn's interaction with the community look like? Respawn is still adapting to the task of managing a game of Apex Legends proportions. This means with the growth of the team in sheer employee numbers, there simply is more capacity to take better care of certain aspects of developing a live service game. And handling and interacting with such a massive community is still a constant learning process. The culture around that is still developing. Which leads us to my resume. Overall, I feel vindicated in a lot of worries I had about Respawn. But Daniel also gave me the impression that all of these things are being worked on and are improving. I don't agree with some things Respawn has done or is currently doing in Apex, but after my talk to Daniel, I feel better than ever before for the future of Apex Legends. Thank you so much for making this video possible. Without the trust the community has put into me to be their voice, this wouldn't have been possible. And thank you so much to Daniel for hopping on and wanting to hear what I have to say. I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing so you don't miss my future endeavors into the depths of Apex. And if you would like to support these endeavors directly and get behind the scenes material, you can subscribe on Twitch or become a YouTube channel member below. Thank you so much for watching. Pathfinder loves you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!